Insurance isn't exactly at the top of the totem pole. While, I might think it's important, the average small business owner who's busy incorporating, they're getting their business strategy, often insurance is overlooked. So when they do kind of step into it and all of a sudden they find out, hey, this process takes 3 weeks and I got to fill in 8 pages of paperwork and, I got to communicate with 5 different people. And that's where having technology enabled insurance product and e-commerce product allows you to communicate with that small business owner immediately.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ashoka Maimona. I'm the host of today's interview on behalf of Smarter Loans. Our guest today is Josh Pillsbury. He's the Vice President of Partnerships at Apollo Insurance. Now, Apollo is an innovative insurance solution that's on a mission to disrupt and improve the insurance buying experience in Canada. And Josh is going to speak about the mission and more on that. But Josh himself brings a wealth of experience to the table that I know many of our viewers are keen on hearing about because you yourself are, a founder and a former CEO. So I know that I speak for myself and our audience. We're very excited to hear from you. So let's get started. Let's start with Apollo. So tell us, about Apollo, its origin story, what its mission is, and then also what sets it apart from other online insurance providers. I know I've given you a lot to work with there, so hack away at it as you wish.
For sure. Thanks for having me, Mashoka. And, Apollo, our vision is to be the most customer-centric insurance business in the world. And we have a mission that we want an industry where computers do the work so people can build relationships. And I think that that's what really separates us from a lot of the other online insurance providers out there is that you might find online insurance providers, it really is paired with limited human interaction, limited support. Whereas our mission is really, we're trying to empower the broker and really, empower them to be more efficient with their time so they can provide that advice and counsel to the end consumer. So the idea is that whatever way the consumer wants to purchase, we're there for them. If they want to go online, have a quote, never interact with a human being, they can go through that experience. Or if they want to talk to us on live chat, or if they want to pick up the phone. And I think that's what really separates us is that we're leveraging technology as a tool to really empower the human experience and empower advisors to provide that advice and counsel, which really the insurance industry is founded on.
No, that's very interesting. And from my reading, it seems that is the direction that the industry is moving in, albeit the big providers, I think, taking some time to get there, and which is why we're seeing, so many great companies like Apollo really filling that gap. And we can talk about that later on. But before we get to that, I wanted to ask you about your own experience within, the Insure-tech industry. And as I mentioned, you yourself had started an Insure-tech startup. So if you want to tell us a little bit about that journey, what led you to, launch a startup and then pivot to Apollo?
For sure. I started my career in the insurance industry. I've been in the insurance industry for close to 10 years at this point. I started out as an underwriter for a U.S. insurance company that was based in New York. And, one of the traditional incumbents had been around for, I think, close to 200 years. Mm-hmm. And everything was very paper-based. When I joined, we were still, licking envelopes and putting in renewal letters and sending them out, physically signing them. So the idea of even an e-signature at that point was still a very novel concept. So we were still discussing how do we prevent ourselves from having to sign every document and get e-signature. So that just kind of shows you the state of the industry. And this wasn't that long ago. And so during that time, I worked there for a number of years and just felt like there's a better way and there was some opportunity for innovation. So I actually went out and started my own business with a couple partners of mine, and we were able to get some traction. And really the idea was automating a lot of the interactions between brokers and underwriters and a lot of that busy work when it comes to filling in application forms, filling in physical PDFs or filling in actual paper applications. And during that journey, we were able to build some momentum. And then I kind of went out and explored, other Insure-techs, what they were doing. I had connected with Apollo, some of the early employees, and Jeff, the CEO and co-founder, really liked what they were doing. And it was kind of a decision whether I wanted to kind of go out full time, continue on with my business. And obviously there's a certain level of risk there, or potentially join up with another organization that was doing something similar. So, it was really right place, right time, and was able to connect with Apollo, Jeff McCann, and the founding team. And, at that point, there was only 7 of us. So, obviously we've had a lot of growth since then, but that was my personal journey. So I've been in Insure-tech for a little while now and really excited on kind of, where we can take Apollo long term. But definitely been an Insure-tech for a while, and long before Insure-tech was even a word. Insure-tech didn't really exist until the last couple of years. Before that, it was just fintech, and people thought you were making something up when you said Insure-tech.
Exactly. I think that phrase has really taken off. I mean, I guess it's not even a phrase. It's a single word, insurance and technology put together. And it's really taken off in the last few years. And it's interesting because there are a few competitors in the space. So let's talk about Apollo and how it works. So if you could give us a brief overview of the offerings, what are some of your competitive advantages compared to some other counterparts in the market?
For sure. So, Apollo, we have two distribution models. Early on, we only had one distribution model, and then we opened up a second thereafter. So our core model from day one, at least as long as I've been a part of Apollo, going on about 2.5 years now, is that we distributed our insurance products through our insurance broker network. So that's a wholesale B2B model where we distribute our insurance products on a white labeled format. So consumers can log in or go to their kind of mom and pop shop insurance brokerage and buy digital insurance products. Now, that was a way for us to get distribution. During that journey, we saw some other opportunities, particularly on the technology side, where we were able to potentially embed our insurance products into other experiences. So that's where we actually started what we now call our embedded partnership side of the business. So that's a direct insurance model. And we got licensed across Canada. One example would be we embed our tenant insurance products into resident mobile apps. So, if you're a new tenant moving to an apartment building, you download this resident mobile app, you do your maintenance requests, you book your elevator, and then you can also purchase insurance. And it'll pre-populate a lot of the information on your building. You only have to answer a few simple questions. It'll send a notification to your landlord, and you can just get on with your day. So those are our two models. So one is B2B through wholesale insurance brokerages, and then the other is embedded partnerships, which is a direct-to-consumer model through our partners.
Great. So you mentioned tenant insurance, but you also offer business insurance and home insurance. Am I correct?
Yes, we do.
What is the breakdown? Do you find you're serving many small businesses, but also residents, or is it primarily small businesses?
It's primarily small businesses to date. Our embedded partnership model really revolves a little bit more around personal lines, which we call like tenant insurance, home insurance, condo owners insurance, just given the nature of the partnerships and how transactional that type of business can be. In our wholesale channel, where we partner with insurance brokerages, it is very dominated by small business insurance products. And so we have a suite of, a few thousand different types of industry classes that we're able to provide quotes, and customers, small businesses can purchase all online. And then we have our personal line segment as well.
Okay, excellent. In terms of the industry itself, we talked about how much the industry has evolved, and you mentioned that Apollo has grown, leaps and bounds in the last few years, since you've joined. I sort of have a sense that COVID has accelerated the industry itself, but if you could speak to the industry writ large, but also Apollo, and I'm sure that's a symbiotic relationship, but how it's changed since Apollo has launched, and what would you say accounts for so much of its growth? So, we can tackle Apollo first and the industry second, or if you think it's symbiotic, go for it.
Sure. Yeah, I'll tackle it in two parts. So, Apollo specific, I think a lot of our growth has been, obviously, there's some external factors, which I'll get into, but I think it's really a testament to not only the leadership, but every single individual at the company, the team we have. We have a lot of very trusted partners and clients who, took a risk on us partnering and working with us at a very early stage. We have a lot of investors who have stuck with us every step of the way. So, early on, Apollo didn't really have as much brand clout. Even in the insurance industry, not everyone knew who Apollo was. So we really had to kind of go out and establish relationships and add value in a purely organic way. We couldn't really ride the coattails of a big brand or, a large client base that we can reference. And I think that just all goes back to, those early believers who stuck with us every step of the way, and the team that we had. And the second part of your question, the landscape certainly has changed pretty dramatically over the last couple of years. Obviously one pivotal moment would have been COVID. So, when Apollo was founded, and even when I joined, COVID, it didn't exist. There was no such thing as COVID. And then March 2020, we had about 10 people and COVID hit. It was a very uncertain time for the company. And, there's a lot of incumbent insurers and brokers that had to pivot. They were very brick and mortar based. Now they had to go online. They had remote teams. They had to set up work from home atmospheres. One advantage that we had is that we were always a very remote company. Everyone is empowered with a laptop when they join, stand-up desk at home, various other resources. We use Slack, we use HubSpot. So we were already very technology enabled. So that transition for us really was able to accelerate a lot of our growth and give us a competitive advantage over those traditional incumbents. So I think that's how the industry is a little bit changed, is that there was an accelerated moment because of COVID where every company had to kind of digitize their operations. And that's where we were able to really kind of make some big moves.
Actually, I'm curious on that note about the sort of industry incumbents that you've mentioned, the ones that have been around for decades, centuries even. Again, I mean, you might have some thoughts being, immersed in the industry, but how have they adapted to, the e-commerce space, especially, in an expedited sort of last 20 months? Have you, again, I know it's sort of an environment that you're not in at the moment, but you did yourself start, at an industry titan, and you've seen sort of that side of the picture. So do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really ranges and it depends on the leadership involved. I mean, there's some incumbent insurance companies and insurance brokerages that have done really well and they've been able to scale and grow during COVID. And then, there's others that have not. And I think it really just came down to, who was ready to kind of, take a chance and make some decisions right when COVID happened and take advantage of the situation from a perspective of, hey, like we have a bunch of staff that are working remote from home. Some of these companies are, thousands of employees. To invest into each and every employee to set up an atmosphere where they can communicate with each other in, a Slack type environment, or they can, have a work from home environment with, VPN and everything set up and properly training staff. I think that required some upfront investment and some did it right and some didn't. Mm-hmm. So, I think it really is it varies by company. But yeah, I mean, certainly it's not easy to empower a workforce of thousands of people. You've been in the office for 100 years. So that
exactly.
was a tough go.
So in terms of clientele, though, do you feel like they have stepped up to the plate in order to provide those models of service? And perhaps I can preface this with, and this is, predates COVID, but the workforce is changing, right? The clientele, small businesses are changing. It's no longer simply bricks and mortar shops, people working at a bricks and mortar shops. Oftentimes you have small businesses that are fully on the internet, again, expedited by COVID. Do you think that is an area where Insure-techs like Apollo have really filled the gap, if that gap existed? Because, again, not putting words into your mouth, because let's say some of the industry titans hadn't seen that advantage in the market.
Certainly. I mean, if you step out of the insurance industry for a second, the e-commerce world, the idea of buying a product online is not a novel concept anymore. It's kind of table stakes. So, then you step back into the insurance industry and the idea of purchasing online all of a sudden becomes a very new and innovative concept. So I don't think that we need to recreate the wheel. I think we just need to catch up to, where other industries are at and make sure that we're adding the most value to the consumer. And small businesses, they're used to, there's platforms where they can incorporate their business in 10 minutes. They can do all of their accounting online. They can do, all of their HR payroll online. Why shouldn't they be able to purchase their insurance online? It's kind of a table stakes for them. So I think that that's just the expectation now. And there's going to be insurance companies that meet it. And then there's going to be the others that don't.
Exactly. And I think that's a good segue into maybe you highlighting how exactly Apollo has helped Canadians. Like we've discussed, the e-commerce model of Apollo predated COVID-19, but, you can touch on that, but just generally, how are you helping Canadians, everyday Canadians?
Definitely. I mean, kind of goes back, and it was a good segue because we understand when starting a business, I've started a business. Many Canadians have started a business. You're worrying about a lot of things. Insurance isn't exactly at the top of the totem pole. While, I might think it's important, the average small business owner who's busy incorporating, they're getting their business strategy built out. They might be raising some capital. Often insurance is overlooked. So that's where when they do kind of step into it and all of a sudden they find out, hey, this process takes 3 weeks and I got to fill in 8 pages of paperwork and, I got to communicate with 5 different people and I might not even be able to get a competitive quote or I might not even be able to get a quote at all, depending on what type of business I have. just give responsiveness is, I think, the most important thing. And that's where having technology enabled insurance product and e-commerce product, it allows you to communicate with that small business owner immediately and share, here's where you're at in terms of your pricing. It gives them an option right away, and they don't have to wait weeks while they're dealing with, a lot of stress when you're starting up a business. There's a lot going on, and the last thing you need is insurance getting in the way of your other objectives.
Exactly. And I think that's a good place to ask you if you could walk me briefly through, let's say I'm a small business owner that has belatedly realized, oops, I haven't done this. I need to, find insurance providers, but I don't have a lot of time. I stumble upon your website. What should I do?
Yeah. So if you go to our website, there'll be a few different sections. We have a section for insurance brokers, so they can actually get a quote on their client's behalf. So we'll make sure that we service an insurance broker that's looking for the best option for their client. And then we have our direct arm where, clients can get a quote directly from Apollo. So it's really as simple as searching in your business class. So say you're, an IT consultant or you're a graphic designer, you just search in the field graphic designer, the product will pop up. You go through a simple experience where you answer a few questions about your business. How many employees do you have? What are your revenues? Some of those pricing questions, and you should be able to get, your policy emailed to you within 5 minutes. So we offer monthly payment on every product. You can pay by credit card, which again is kind of a novel concept in the insurance industry. The idea that you can pay your insurance on a monthly basis via credit card. So that's actually a value add for a lot of small businesses to collect the points. But yeah, just really trying to keep it as simple as possible. So it shouldn't take longer than 5 or 10 minutes if you go to our website.
That's incredible. Yeah, that's definitely helping many, many Canadians, I'm sure. We've talked about the industry, but are there some current trends that you would like to highlight?
Yeah, there's definitely some trends. I think that embedded insurance, embedded finance is certainly a hot topic right now. And I think that there's a lot of overlap with the Insure-tech, the insurance industry. And by nature of that, there's this concept that I like to call debundling. It's an emerging concept where, when you have embedded insurance products, what that promotes is it promotes debundling of insurance products. So often insurers' value proposition revolved around bundling to save. So bundle your home and auto together and you'll get a better rate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the nature and the direction of insurance is that it's trending to micro insurance products that are embedded into other experiences. So one example might be, and this isn't even a micro insurance product, would be Tesla just launched their insurance arm. They're live in California. They just launched in Texas. They're going to New York. And so in the future, you'll just have insurance included in the price of your vehicle. Now, that's a form of unbundling because now you're going to be getting your auto insurance from Tesla, and then you're going to be getting your home insurance from another provider when you might have used to get it all bundled together at, Allstate. So unless all of a sudden Tesla starts, getting into home insurance, I really do feel like that the idea of embedded and unbundling is a current trend and where we're headed.
No, that's very fascinating. In terms of the experience, the insurance buying experience, we've talked about how it has shifted and evolved in the last few years, but I imagine there's still room to continue improving. What would some of those improvements be, or what are some areas that require improvement?
I think that, where we can improve is, in new insurance products in emerging markets. So micro insurance in emerging markets in third world countries where they might not have access to those products. I think there's a lot of implications with blockchain that, we can overcome a lot of the barriers to entry that we have had in the past as an industry. And when it comes to embedded insurance, obviously there's trends there. One reference that I like to make is that Apple is probably one of the biggest embedded insurance providers out there. So, I don't know about you. I have an Apple iPhone.
Yeah.
I have the Apple Care. The Apple Care itself is a $16 billion market, and that's a warranty. That's an insurance product. So we don't even know, but we're actually all purchasing embedded insurance products on a daily basis. And I think as we continue to, optimize the technology and allow underwriting to be a bit more flexible on what we can purchase, it's really going to promote us being able to kind of simplify the whole insurance experience through embedding insurance products into our day-to-day life, and then also opening up new markets that might not have had access to these products before.
Mm-hmm. I think that is really fascinating because I think it's an industry that has grown leaps and bounds, like we mentioned, and I am curious to see, how it continues to evolve in the coming years. And I think especially from the e-commerce space, I'm sure, there have been a lot of, with stressors come a lot of disruption. And I think COVID was one of those things where it really accelerated the growth of entities like Apollo. And even for small business owners across Canada, I mean, it was a really tough time, but in many industries, I think there was a lot of success and thriving, dare I say. So in terms of people who are looking to, obtain insurance, what are a few things that perhaps isn't generally known that they should be aware of?
I think some things that aren't known is that you can get a good rate on insurance and you don't have to go direct to an insurance company to do that. There's platforms out there, there's aggregators. I mean, Smarter Loans being one where if you go and you search around and you find these options where you might be getting a personal loan or you might be getting the best mortgage rate, it really opens you up to finding kind of those niche deals because a lot of the direct players, they're not taking these approaches of embedding their insurance products into partnerships, into kind of technology providers out there or aggregators. So, I guess what I would say is that there's no need to pay kind of the price that you see kind of listed first. If you do a little bit of shopping around online through aggregators, through kind of different platforms, you'll probably be able to find a better price. And it is worth just taking a few minutes to kind of search around and find those options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great tip. Do you have any other tips that people who are looking around for insurance, so whether business or home or tenant, the ones that Apollo provides, are there some tips that you would provide further to the one that you've already shared?
I think it just really depends on kind of what you're looking for and what type of products you're looking for. If you're a small business, you might have, a very complex risk that might warrant having a phone call with your local broker to start and then doing a tandem search online to try and find comparative options. If you're looking for a renter's insurance policy because you just need to fulfill a landlord requirement, then that's where you might just want to kind of find the most convenient option. So I think it just depends on, what type of insurance product you're looking for. There's thousands of products out there. We're trying to make it really easy and intuitive to find the product you're looking for because we recognize that every small business is different. So, maybe if I have a little bit of a plug, the easiest option might be to go to Apollo and check out what insurance products we have, see what price point you're at, get a quote, and that could be the start of your journey.
Excellent. Now, we talked a little bit about clientele and the varied industries that you've served. In terms of challenges or trends that you're seeing with your clients and perhaps, prospective clients who are watching right now, what are some of those challenges or trends that you want to mention and how perhaps Apollo can fill the need that they may be experiencing?
I think it's, COVID has been tough on a lot of small businesses. So we saw that certain types of businesses, it actually created a lot of new opportunities. And then other businesses, it was really tough on them. So I think that, early on in COVID, we saw a lot of janitorial and cleaning companies start up. And so that was kind of a new industry that was emerging, IT consulting, but retail obviously had a bit of a tough time. Restaurants had a tough time. So I think that for small businesses, it's just really evaluating what direction do you want to go, is what types of insurance products are valuable to you, and having a conversation with the insurance broker. One example would be restaurants. When COVID happened, they didn't have coverage for business interruption. So that means that when your business closes down and you lose all that revenue, you don't really get compensated for that revenue unless it was a fire. But COVID, the pandemic, wasn't covered. I think that's an opportunity for us to collectively come together as an industry and all the industry associations and just create potentially new insurance products that are able to cover those perils so we don't have to run into this situation again.
Mm-hmm. And that actually makes me wonder, have you found in the last 20 months that, prospective clients or clients are reaching out to Apollo and asking a lot of these questions that, sort of advisory type questions, what should I do? What do you advise me? Situation's tough. I don't quite know what options to pick because we went through a pretty stressful time, and just looking at, sort of that sort of long-term picture. Is that something that you found yourself having to do?
Definitely. I mean, our mission at Apollo is that computers do the work so people can build relationships. And so we really are highly invested into having human to human interactions with our clients, giving them that advice and counsel and providing them true value in terms of what types of products they should be looking for, what types of coverage they need. And so even though we are an e-commerce company, everything can be purchased online. You don't have to interact with an individual. We really make a point to speak with every single customer, whether that's over the phone or over live chat or even email communication, to make sure that they know exactly what types of coverages they need, because there's a lot of small businesses out there that, they might go online and the first option they find, it might be the cheapest, but it doesn't mean that it's the best option for them. So we really want to make sure we're providing the best option in terms of price point, but also coverage as well.
I think we've covered a lot of ground. I wanted to ask you about what's next for you at Apollo, what's sort of coming down the pipeline that perhaps you want to touch on.
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting things coming down the pipe in Apollo. We've had a pretty tremendous 2021. We went from 15 full-time staff I think it was last fall, and now we are almost at 100 full-time staff. We have scaled our revenue fairly tremendously as well. So I think that the next steps are, for us personally, is optimizing the technology, continuing to build new products, focusing on the customer, getting feedback and iterating on the products that we already do have, expanding our partner network, obviously continuing to scale up our revenue for our stakeholders and clients. And finally, U.S. expansion is a big one. So we'll be expanding to the U.S. in 2022. So we're all very excited about that. And I'm sure that anyone who's following this can keep tabs on that. And if you are in the U.S. and you're listening to this right now, Apollo is just around the corner.
Amazing. And I was going to ask you about U.S. expansion because I've noticed a couple of Canadian entities do that, or at least make announcements they're about to do that. I mean, I'm sure their market is very different from the Canadian market. I mean, even the Canadian market, we were talking about the staff at Apollo earlier, and you guys literally are coast to coast. So from BC to PEI, and every province, every territory has a very different, I imagine, from your end, audience and clientele needs. But the states too, do you guys know which market you would specifically start in?
So we're actually going to be launching in all 50 states. We're just in the compliance process right now. We've been working through that with licensing, and we're planning a soft launch in Q1 of 2022. And then throughout the year, we will continue to expand across all 50 states with the existing partners and customers that we have. That being said, we're still a Canadian company. Canada is still very much the focus for us, and it will be for the foreseeable future. But we really want to definitely expand in the US. And it really is because we have a lot of partners and clients that we've been able to add value. They've been able to be great stakeholders for us to communicate and establish feedback loops. And so we're really looking to fulfill the partners we have down in the US. And so it really is just a function of trying to fulfill on the clients we already have.
That's incredible. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Josh. I know we covered a lot of ground, but is there anything else that you wanted to let our viewers know about, or anything that I didn't ask you that you wanted to touch on?
I think we touched on a lot. I really appreciate the time. I think if there's one last thing I'd like to highlight is that, for anyone who's listening out there, Apollo Row is looking for good people. We're hiring consistently. And so if you take a look at our careers page, take a look at a few of the roles. I think a lot of people, they hear the word insurance, they think it's a boring industry. I personally didn't think that I was going to end up in insurance when I was in university, but it is a very exciting industry, and it's a very exciting time. And there's a lot of innovation happening. And so if you're someone that is interested in working for a fast growth startup, great culture, check out our careers page and have a look. And we look forward to speaking with you.
Amazing. And Josh, if you could just tell our viewers what the website is.
Yeah, our website is Apollo, APOLLO, cover.com. So apollocover.com. And if you go there, you can find any small business or personal lines insurance product. And of course, our careers page where we post all of our new roles.
All right. Well, thank you again, Josh. Thanks for taking the time. And it's been very informative for me. So I'm sure the viewers will love to hear and learn more about Apollo and all your offerings.
Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, it was great speaking with you.
Take care. Bye.